Yeah, so the oldest one I think I have is, so this is Rick's New York board. I got it signed at Sub-Zero. I was just like hanging out there one night. Like my mom, I lived in Northeast Philly. I grew up there. And so it was like a pain in the ass to take the train down there. So my mom was like, cool and drove me down after work one night. And like Rick was in there and they were all talking about, and this was like right when Illuminati was probably like 6 months out. So they were all in there talking and like hanging out, and I could hear them talking about like all this like Freemason shit and like how they might be like leaving New York and like changing or doing something else. So I'm like sitting there as a little kid just in the corner like soaking it all in, just like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. And then they were like, they had those Empire stickers on their board, and like Empire was like Zoo's wheels at that point, but I think they were gonna call the company Empire for a while, but they wound up going with Illuminati. But so yeah, I was like, I bought Rick's board while I was there, and then my mom came in and like embarrassed the shit out of me. Like not trying to, but it's just like, what's taking so long? Like, come on, we gotta go. And I was like, oh, like try and be cool. Like Rick, that's this dude, like whatever. And she's like, oh, you should get him to sign it. I'm like, oh, I feel weird. Like, but I need this board to skate. And she's like, just get it, get him to sign it. So she wound up like, we didn't have money for that, but she wound up buying me 2 of this board so I could keep this one that he signed. And he like, you can see it's like, he tried to like write it in like this shitty marker that was there, and he wound up like signing it with like a pen almost. But I mean, it's almost 30 years ago. It's like 20 or 95. Yeah, he signed this for me. I had already had it gripped, so because this was the one I was going to skate. So he signed this one for me. Yeah, and I just always held on to it. It's like the first one that I could just never, like even when I needed a board, I was like, I can't bring myself to skate this one. So then I guess inadvertently got lucky. I was skating this Surge Illuminati board and it de-lammed. Like obviously I didn't skate it that long, but it definitely had stickers on it. There's like a bunch of like sticker residue, but luckily they all came off pretty easy. But I managed to keep this over the years and like just hung this on my wall too because there was so much graphic left. But it was just cool to see like how much of it's still left through, and you could see all the like Freemason art and stuff that's on there, like all that original Illuminati stuff that they were doing. But yeah, the whole tail's like cracked apart at this point, but it's just one of those ones that I just can't let go of because it's just so cool. And like, you know, it was my board. It's not like something I collected or got from somebody. Like it was mine that I skated. And then this one, of course, has to go with the Rick and the Surge's Matt's board. This is the reissue, but I feel like it's just growing up in Philly, like those were the guys. Like the Sub-Zero video was like religious watching for us, you know. So it was like Rick, Matt, Fred, Serge, like they were like the people that we looked up to for sure. So when this came back out and we saw like the proceeds were going to Matt's family and all that stuff, like I had to have one. So yeah, I know somebody has an original out there. My friend Skip definitely has one. And it was a beast. I think it was like what, 8 3/4. Like it was a monster of a board, but it's cool. So I'm just happy to have this one just to like feel like the collection's kind of full circle. Like I would love to have any kind of Matt Reason board, like an Adrenaline or something like that would be sick. I definitely skated those back then, but this is definitely cool to have. Yeah, so like over the years, I definitely became friends with people, obviously like tons of Philly people, and then Mike Stein did all the art for Traffic for like so long. So we've gotten to be, you know, better friends over the years. And he had this, I guess it's a test print because it's a color that was never released. So we were like, we always trade boards back and forth. Like I sold him or sent him a bunch of my Illuminati and Silver Star boards that I had saved, like just skated ones. And they were pretty, like they were skated to hell, but he just wanted to have them. So it's cool to like, he will just randomly send me stuff like this where it's like, oh yeah, I have this sitting in my collection, but I don't need it necessarily. Like he's got other ones, but he did this graphic forever ago and they printed it for years and years. So I just thought it was cool to hold on to this one because it was never released. Like it's got a natural top, and yeah, I just like that it's on the, you know, that red fade is in there. It looks cool. Reminds you of the the original Zoo one where it's like faded down into the graphic.
Broke all the rules with that.
Yeah, right? Yeah, picture of a skater on it. So this one means a ton to me. Obviously, JR, like Cheapskates, like that's where I met him when I was like a little kid. But yeah, JR was always like the kid that was ripping, super good. And then I wound up working at the Vans Park here in like 2000. And this is like right when he was on stereo and all that stuff was going on. And he was dating somebody that worked at the park. So he was there all the time. And just watching him skate that park was like unbelievable. And then like seeing him street skate, like he skated for the shop that was a couple blocks from where I grew up. So I would always like he would come skate like the local like street spots with us and whatever. So the one day he was at the park and they had just gotten boards in. So I was like, dude, I need you to sign a board for me. So he left this and he had just quit stereo to ride for Death. So that's why he put like the funny little like skull and like, you know, signed it for me there. So this one's like another one where it's like I could never let go of this. So I'm always on the hunt. If anybody's got, especially a JR had a 151 board where it's a picture of like him sitting in front of a brick wall and then it just says like JR Neves and spray paint at the top. I've been trying to find that board for years and I can like, I'm sure there's not many out there at all, but that's just one of those ones where like that was the era where like I was seeing him all the time and skating with him. So definitely just such a huge fan and he was always the coolest. So I've managed to track down like a few of his other boards over the years. Stein linked me to this one. He's got one too, but this one's like, it's definitely beat up. Like it's got some chips in the paint and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Just, this was such a cool one. Like the Unbelievers, the leg lamp one. Thought that was so funny. And then this one is, I think it's still hanging in Tattooed Moms in Philly, but there's also like, it's from the bar. Like there's got a little Tattooed Moms sign on the wall. Like the little kid picture of him, which I always think is so funny. So his mom actually doesn't have this board, which is why I tracked it down. Like I bought it as soon as I saw it and I tried to get it to her. But like right when we were like making plans to link up, she's like, you know what? She's like, you should just hold on to it. She's like, I'm just happy that like somebody cares enough about it to have it like that. So I thought that was super cool, but like, I would love to get it to her, but she's kind of like, you know, at that point she said she didn't want it because she was happy with where it was at, but they have like a ton of his boards. I remember at his like memorial thing that they had all of his boards that he had over the years all like hung on the walls. It was so cool. So just a good tribute, but yeah, I missed that dude. He was amazing. And then this one is one that I had skated. It's funny, this is like that definition of me like splitting time between, this was like a Philly shop and this was a down, like I lived with my mom down the shore sometimes, so it was like outside of Ocean City. So we had the two different shops, both getting repped on the same board. But this era of stereo was so cool. Like Omar Alvario and Pete Eldridge and all those dudes were on there, Shane Heil. So this was like a cool era. So I just like this part of stereo. So getting into like random crap that I've held on to over the years. This is the first demo that I ever helped organize, 1997 summer. Capitol was doing a tour and I was working at the surf shop in Ocean City. And we happened to like, we were already doing really good business with East Coast Urethane. So they, you know, offered to come through and it was the coolest day. Like imagine like this shitty basketball court that like you skate all the time and then all of a sudden like Pepe Martinez is there. So it's just a cool day. It's just something like, it's so random that I held onto this photocopied, you know, crappy flyer that we made, but just cool to have like Andy Stone, Pepe Martinez, Chris Keefe, like pretty cool.
And they were all at the demo?
Yeah, they all came. Yeah, no KT. I was a little bummed on that.
Yeah.
But at least we saw KT around. So then, yeah, when I was splitting time between Philly and Jersey, when I lived in Philly, I lived in this, like, real close to Fox Chase, which is where Pat Corcoran was from. Pat Corcoran was like, it was the coolest thing at that point to us. We're like, dude, he's on Alien. Like, he's on, like, the big company. And then this weird team board was his ad that we had, or that he had, backtailing some rail. So we just thought it was cool that like they took the ad that he had, made it into a board graphic. So we all skated this board. It was just one of those things where like, dude, this is, you know, our guy is making it kind of thing. So we all thought that was really cool. So yeah, I held on to this one just because it cracked like right away as I was skating it. Same thing with that JR where it's like, probably bummed on it at the moment, but now I'm like psyched that it cracked because now at least I have it. So then getting into that, like, so I have no alien boards. I wish I did, but everybody wants those so much, and there's so much like love for it that it's just not something that I kept. I did for years, but I sold most of them off when I needed money for whatever. And I bought and sold this K-less DGK abduction board like 4 times now. Like I keep buying it, finding it, and then somebody else needs it. And I'm like, all right, I could probably flip. Like I'm not that attached to it, but at the same time, like it's such a cool concept that it got cease and desisted. Like the shop I was working at when these came out actually sent them back to KO when the like request came in, instead of being like, oh no, we got to hold on to that. Like obviously they're going to be worth something if they got cease and desisted, but the owners like didn't know what they were doing and sent them back. But yeah, super cool that they're all signed and numbered. I know a lot of like brands will say shit's like limited edition, but there's no numbers on it. So really, how many did you make? But yeah, these were all signed and numbered, which is cool. This one's a little scuffed up, but I got it for a good price. So it's just more the memory of it that I'm psyched to have it.
Every one you had has a different number?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the numbers?
No. Another guy that was like huge at that point that I was a big fan of was Jimmy Chung. When American Dream was going and like that Fairman 3 video came out, like he has already done skating when Fairman 3 came out, but I love that video so much, and like his part's only like a minute long and it's still like that weird video game music. But it's just the style of his skating was so cool. So then when he did a guest board with Terror first, and then I guess when he was done with that, like we kind of linked up. He did that 500 Fahrenheit podcast, and then I guess it turned into doing like an American Dream type capsule for DOA. So when these came out, like I was so psyched on it, because American Dreams, like I skated those boards over the first time, like so many when they were like the deluxe boards. So to see this and see like a real like true homage to the brand that it was, like I love this. I think this graphic is so cool. And Jimmy's like the best dude now that he's like, you know, took off 17 years from skating and now he's like back and coming out skating and rips. Like, love it. He's the best. So from like 2001 to 2008, I worked at this shop called G-Spot that was up here. And I got in the habit when I started collecting more boards of getting, if like somebody came into the shop that was pro or was like, you know, whether they were on a tour or just like Pete lived in Jersey. So he was like, he would pop in the shop with his friends once in a while. We happened to have his bootleg board on the wall. I'm just like, I was such a fan of bootleg, like that whole like bootleg 3000, like that's like probably one of my favorite videos ever. So when Pete came in, I was like, dude, I was like, I need you to sign this. And it's funny, like, so the year before that I was working at Vans and he signed my cast because I had a broken foot. So it was like, I was like, because it was like right when bootleg hadn't even started yet, like, and he wrote bootleg on the cast. So it was like always this thing where like, we would kind of laugh about it later. But yeah, so he came into the shop, he had just turned pro. This was his first graphic. Like he had one that was like a vertical graphic and then this horizontal one. And we had this one, so he signed it for me. It was just such a cool one. And like, it sucks. I had like such a good collection of bootleg boards, but like you said, like things come up and you got to change, and you know, sometimes things got to go to make room for other things. So, but this is one I'll never get rid of. Like I feel like Pete's the best, and you know, definitely a legend from around here. So had to have his board.
Do you mind that that's horizontal instead of vertical?
So I don't like horizontal graphics just because they're such a pain in the ass to display. But I mean, it is what it is. Like you make a section and kind of like, at least in my layout, like I'll have all my horizontal boards or all my vertical boards, and then have one section where I can put horizontal boards. Just like, cause they take up like weird spaces. Like this wall is kind of limited where like I could do a run of like horizontal boards above it, but just aesthetically didn't work out. Like this room's a little small for that. So, but this was on my wall for a long time. It's just not, you know, it's cool because like I feel like I can always keep them cycling. Like, you know, whatever I'm into that month or two, like I can flip it and change it up really easy. So, but yeah, this one's not up there right now, but it's definitely a big part of like something I've never let go of. Everybody talked about like the shop, me working at it. So it's so funny that like no one ever thinks to keep shop boards. Like they're so disposable at that point. Like, so the shop that I worked at, G-Spot, I found these on Facebook Marketplace a couple years ago. Some kid must have just had like a bunch of them. So he had 3 different graphics. So I kept 2 and passed one along to some like a friend of mine that was like, it came up at the shop too. But yeah, that shop was there for like 12 years or something. Like, it was cool. It was like we had tons of demos. Like we would always do like big barbecue jams over the summers and stuff. So, but it was cool. It was like, all the homies worked there. So it was like cool. We like ran as a crew. Yeah, they made some videos and stuff. But yeah, I had this one. We had a cool, like, our friend Timo made all these graphics. And then when G-Spot closed, they opened Rain Skate Shop. So they made a Death Wish collab that I thought was sick. So I had to hold on to one of those too. So that was cool. There was like a lot of homies. Like that actually goes into, so we saw like, they had like the best team at that point. Like they were like all the dudes, like Tom Asta, Shad, all those guys rode for Rain. So it was like whenever they showed up to like a contest or a demo, it was like they knew it was a wrap because those dudes were like on it at that. That's like when they were like firing. So it's cool because I actually have, oh, am I not going to find this right now? Even that top graphic's so sick. Like Rain has a Death Wish. So then I have Tom Asta's first board. Tom I've known since he was a little kid. He was like a little kid that would come in to G-Spot and buy boards. And then, obviously he got sponsored. He was on Baker and then he was on Zero, went to Mystery and then went pro for Mystery. So it's cool to see Tom like thriving still and like doing well. Cause he's like, he lives 5 minutes from here. Tracked this down a few years ago. I kept it and then I sold one because somebody was like desperate to have it. So I went up selling mine to them. And I had another graphic of his that was signed, but this one's like the Wawa one is like iconic, like so East Coast. And like, so I luckily got another one of these, but yeah, it's a cool one. And Tom's the homie. So I just had to have that.
So sick.
This was like when Pete was on too. They were both on Mystery. I don't even know if Tom was pro when this one came out. I think it might have been right before he turned pro. But with like the Phillies colors and the Phillies P, that was definitely a cool one. We all rode this too, and they had shirts of it. They had everything. So it was cool. I was like, really into those dudes on Mystery. Not necessarily everybody that was on Mystery, but this part of it was like super cool. We were all psyched on that.
So like this board, did you save this one or this one you?
No, this one, I bought this and was like, oh, I need to keep one of these. Yeah, this was in the era where I was already keeping as much stuff as I could, but then it was like with the Tom one, it was like, oh, I gotta, I can move this on, because I had, I had another one, so I was like, oh, sign this one, sell that one for, more. Then I just kicked myself for not having it, so it was like, and it's happened to me so many times.
And it's gonna happen again.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's cool because Tom and Ashad came up skating the contest that I run. I've been running them this is our 25-year anniversary of running these events. So it's like, it's cool to see all these kids that like I met as like little ass kids that are now professional skateboarders and traveling the world and doing all this stuff. Like Tom's in Japan right now. Like so cool to see. It's like so many of them, like just seeing success from but then they're involved in something that like we ran and we were, so it just feels like we're a part of it, which is so cool to like. So it's called Philly Am now. It wasn't then, but it's evolved into that. Like Deluxe actually pushed us to change the name in like 2011, just to give it more of like make it feel more important. At one point we were doing 4 or 5 contests a year, which is crazy. Now we do 2. We do like a spring and a fall, but there's so many parks popping up right now where like we had a good stretch for a while where there were all these indoor parks and we were able to do those things, but then it all kind of died off and there wasn't really anything. Like there's no indoor parks within like 2 hours of here, I don't think. So now it's like we're just kind of relying on whatever we can do outdoors, but at least there's a lot more like public parks popping up. There's definitely guys that I'm sure will be going pro any day now between like, Jameer or Ronnie Kessner or those guys that are like the top level AMs right now that have all grew up, skating our stuff. So it's cool to see, the future being bright for them. So yeah, these are all like us doing years of these contests. We have 42 people that have gone pro over the years. Like now that I started like keeping a list, but there's some like So many. These are, so I try and buy everybody's first board. If it's not their first board, like it's at least one that's like a cooler or like iconic graphic. But these are all, you know, people from over the years that have skated the contests or like, so it's cool to see those people either like still being pro or like in the industry doing something. Like I think this one's cool. This is Andrew Cannon's first board. Like we used to skate all the time. It's cool to like, I try and get them all to sign them. Like sometimes it's just like a scribble because they're like, I've never signed a board before. Like I don't know what to do. But it's cool then to get like a cool like message from somebody too, where it's like Andrew signed this forever ago. But it's just cool to like, we still talk all the time. So it's awesome to like see him doing well and like having an industry job and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Del Negro, huge Del Negro fan. Mark's the man. Has a good autograph, made it look great on there. But just simple, clean, like, but it's still like, it was cool to see him do it. Like, cause he's not like a guy that like wants to talk about himself or like hype himself up. So, but I've known these dudes since they were little kids. So it's like, I can kind of be like, listen, you don't have a choice, just sign a damn board for me, you know? And then it's even better when it's like, you're really good friends. Like Kai Reeler is one of my best friends ever, for sure. We've been friends for 25 plus years. So to see that he got a board, like got that recognition from a company, he's like the homie. So this one will always be there. It's like one of my best friends. So just psyched on that. Team Early, because I used to drag him out. Like when we all had like little kids, we would go skate at like 8, 9 a.m. Like we would hit a park or do whatever, skate street spots before anybody else was there, because we always had to get back before our kids were up and getting into crazy stuff. And he didn't have any responsibility. So he'd be like working a bartending job until 3 a.m. and then still coming to meet us. So we always joked like Team Early. And I don't think Jamal ever skated a contest, but Jamal's always been like, you know, the homie for years. But this is a good one where you talk about autographs. Sometimes those like bubbles, because whatever clear coat like Palace uses on their boards reacted bad to that paint marker. I know like that's like a big thing with most collectors is don't sign on the graphic, but if I'm gonna hang a board on my wall and like display it, I want to be able to see it. Like it means something to me. It's my board. It's totally cool if people want to put them on the top, but for me, like I want to like take the time, figure out a cool color that like works with that graphic or whatever. So this one's an unfortunate, but it's there. You can see it. I'll see Jamal again and get him to redo it, but that looks cool. So another like Philly icon one, like obviously everybody loves KT. I thought this one was funny because it's screened upside down. I don't know if it was for somebody that skates their boards backwards or what, but I just thought this was a cool, this was like that end of Zoo York era, but it was like there was like a whole series of these ones. But yeah, the KT always does the funny little slasher Jason guy. But yeah, KT's the best. So I had to have a board of his in the collection. I try to keep my collection to one board per person. Like I used to get crazy and I had like tons of like multiples of so many people's boards where like, if I have multiples of your board, it's because it's like, I genuinely care about what that person's skating is, or, you know, there's a connection to more than one of the boards, but I try just to like not have a million boards. This one's cool. This is Rich Adler's first board on Traffic. I saw Rich the other day. He's doing good. But yeah, I just thought this art was interesting. Thought it was funny. It's like scribble design. It's got the love thing up top. Yeah, 2004. So Rich, I'm pretty sure, is the first person to go pro from skating the contest. He skated the very first one we did, which I thought was funny. It's like, we didn't think anybody was going to come, so then to see like Philly people come down for it was cool to us. So, but yeah, it's cool. Rich has always been a good dude. This one's an interesting one. So Wade is probably my favorite skater ever. I've just been like a fan for so many years, and we've like connected and talked on Instagram and whatever. So I saw he was in Philly, and I just hit him up like, dude, what do you do? Like, like, why are you here? And it was just him and Eric Ikawara filming for that part where he like had all those clips that came out like a year or two ago where he's skating Muni, that hard flip back 5-0 line and all that stuff.
Yes or no?
So yeah, he just hit me back and was like, oh, we're at Shakespeare's Plaza. He's like, but I'm not skating this. I only want to skate Muni while I'm here. Like he like, it's like, it feels like such a Wade thing to do, but like only wants to skate that spot. So like we went to the spot and like Jameer and all those guys were skating there, but he was just hanging out, which is great for me because then he's just chilling. So I'm not like interrupting his session. And we just sat and hung out and talked, and like he couldn't have been cooler. Like especially for somebody like he doesn't know at all, to like hang out and like just shoot the shit and like ask questions about me, not just like me, like, you know, not trying to be like a fanboy or something, but just like genuinely having a conversation and like being such a good dude. So yeah, he signed this one for me. So this is another one like I'll always hold on to. Like I feel like it's like means a lot to me just because he was such a cool guy, and like we still catch up every once in a while. So psyched on this one. So a few years ago, I got into doing sales. I started with DOA. That was cool for a few years, and then that went under. I switched and started helping out with Politic. After Politic, Politic's still going, still helping out with there and Damon. But then Angel from Terror Planet X hit me up and he had been doing the brand by himself for like 8 years at that point and just needed you know, some more help. Like he was doing all the like graphics or organizing artists or whatever, and then shipping and sales and everything. So I kind of offered in, but we kind of worked out a great deal. And so I've been doing Terror Planet X for the last 2 years. Obviously all 10 years that it's been in business, I've been a fan of the brand. I've been collecting the boards, been friends with a bunch of the riders. A bunch of them are, you know, former contest guys that I've known. So it's more kids that I've grown up with. So it's cool to see them shine, but then also like OGs that I've known forever, and it's cool to like really get to know them being involved with the brand now. This one's a Stan Lee board they did for Comic-Con years ago. You go watch Angel's Dead Air episode, you can hear the story behind that one. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so this is a test print that they did for it. It's so it's not numbered, like all the ones that were released officially are numbered 1 out of 25 or whatever. And then there was like 75 full color versions. I happened to find this, some guy on Facebook Marketplace must have like gotten a storage unit or something, and I saw it and like immediately was like, I need this. Like I hit him up right away, and like I don't think he knew what they were. So I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll give you 50 bucks for it. And he took it. So I wound up getting that one and another one that's coming up later. Carrie, obviously, Carrie's been around forever. Done so much stuff, you know, in Philly, Toy Machine, Habitat, all that stuff. So it's awesome to have him as like officially part of the brand. His board, we have a 10-year board that just came out with him. Corey Huber from Maryland, rips. Dude, this series is like one of my favorites. Alexis Zarit killed the art on these. He makes these like killer bootlegs figures. Steve, can you grab the figure that's right there? Yeah, so he like makes these little figure guys of his characters. It's called Killer Bootlegs. But yeah, so he's got this whole series. He did this one for us. Like these colors are just unbelievable. Like they pop so good. So I was always in love with these, and I didn't keep these when they came out. So I was like on the eBay hunt for them. Like anytime I saw anybody had anything like terror related, I was like, is there any chance you have these? Like I know Angel got into the same thing where like when you're starting out a brand, you don't have the money to keep one of everything. So he had to go back and buy back all his boards. And I think he's almost complete with everything that he's got, or close to it. But it's a long process, but it's cool that like there's enough people that like loved and cared about the brand to hold on to that stuff. Like I think that's cool. And he's done a lot of like fun, interesting stuff. So like, yeah, he had a period where he turned Corey pro, Rebar. People might know Rebar. He's the one that like kickflipped that 16 at Muni, that gigantic. But yeah, Rebar rips. Chris Mathis, he was on like, he's been around forever. Like he was like on World back in the day. But yeah, he's Skates for Terror, still rips. He had a part come out like 2 years ago. He's got another part coming out soon. This one means a lot to us. Our friend Corey passed away in 2015. He was very instrumental in like getting the brand off the ground with Angel. He did a lot of like the graphic design, came up with stuff like that, helped us like source apparel and things like that. Like just trying to like learn the game. And like he had been doing that stuff for so long that like, So when he passed away, we did a board. This Eat Shit license plate was like the first graphic the brand ever had. So we thought it was funny to make like a Back to the Future kind of rip off. But yeah, Corey was the best. He helped both of us out a ton. We did a guest board with Serge Stradnowski. This was cool. This one was not the release color. When Penswood did these, they stained them with this like blue paint, and it got all over everybody's hands. It would come off on the graphic. So Angel did like another small batch. Mike Stein did these graphics. And in that blue paint, you kind of couldn't see all this like cool filigree stuff that was on there. So they did this small batch in another stain just to have these that would like pop out a little bit more. So I wound up getting one. So yeah, so then more boards here. Seb Huset, he's on Terror, lives in New York now. He's got a bunch of stuff coming out soon. He's the man. I've known him for, at least 10 years too. Sabotage board. This is the second color of this I got. They did a video with them whenever this came out, like 2015. They did like a VHS release for it, which I thought was cool, but it was like very Sabotage. But yeah, this red colorway looks great. They did like a green, a blue, and a red. So this was a cool one. This one's funny. So Vern has a guest board out for us right now. And then I just came across this card, which is a Philadelphia Experiment, which is like the company that Vern skated for back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Turned into Abstract, and they made that Abstract video. But I just thought it was funny that I had like a card with like the advertisements and the shapes for the boards. But yeah, Vern and I go way back. Like we've been friends for, at least 20 plus years. So it's cool. I'm psyched that he's got a guest board on this brand. He's had guest boards before, and I have those somewhere in the collection, but it's cool to like have him be involved with the brand that I'm involved with now. Papalardo's guest board, that's another cool one. This is a Decade exclusive. Decade is awesome. Love those guys. Tim and Sarah are the best. But yeah, I thought this one was cool. This is another one that I got out of that storage unit. There's 3 colors of this one. It's like the blue one. There was a black and purple one. Don Pendleton did the art for it. Super cool. So another Kevin Taylor board. This is a Nocturnal collab. So there was only 50 made, and they were only available at Nocturnal. So it's cool. It's like got the blood and the N down there. But yeah, I just thought that one was cool. Obviously Jimmy Chung. We talked about Jimmy Chung already, but it was funny to like see him try and sign a board. He's like, I haven't signed a board in forever, like, or ever probably. But it's like, no, dude, it's a thing I do. Like, I got to get you to sign it for me. So he signed that one. Shane Heil's guest board came out last year. I flew out to LA, hung out with Shane for a few days. That was super cool. Like, Shane's the best. I didn't really know him at all. And like, he treated us like we were like his best friends, like took us around to spots, took us out to eat. Like, I had a great time with him. So shout out Shane. He's the best. But yeah, that's another one where like I took the time to like, this graphic is so busy. How am I getting an autograph that's going to like still be able to be seen? So I did the purple in there, and I feel like that definitely stands out. Maldonado, I mean, what can you say about Maldonado? Like, literally, like, legend, the best dude, like the best style, still comes out skating with us. So I'm psyched to like have him around on sessions, like the best, he's a great dude. This is a 2014 original print. This was just re-released like this week. So they're available for now on the website and in shops. But yeah, all different. We did all different stains. We changed the face color so that it doesn't look exactly the same. I think the 825 is one color, the 85 is another color. But it's just cool because that way it's different. You know that you have an original versus, and then they have a 10 Years of Terror top stain as well. Alyssa, obviously the GOAT, it's like, she's the best. Probably the best girl skater, or the most influential girl skater in my opinion. So I hope one day I'll find a way to get her to sign one of these. But obviously, like, being such a bootleg fan and then having her be on the brand, like, these were all super cool. And then we just added Kyle Nicholson. Kyle's another one where it's like, if you need to see him skate in person to understand how incredible that dude is. But his footage is, it's out there, and there's some incredible shit. So definitely check him out if you're not familiar with Kyle. Kyle rules. But yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Terror is like Angel goes above and beyond to make his stuff interesting. Like he'll do these little things that like no one's ever thinking about. Or like Dave, in Dave Scoot's interview, he called them tchotchkes. But like, dude, he made like these little things. Like they did a series where it was like Mathis and Carrie's BMWs. So he found little BMW Matchbox cars that matched their cars exactly, and then made these cards for them. And like made a back graphic, like took the time to do all that stuff. He did a Decades collab with the Decades is like a clothing brand. And they did these like 70s movie posters. So they made like movie cups and things like that. When Seb turned pro, they made these little candles. You know, just put the sticker on there, but it's just an extra thing to like get you psyched on it. When Shane went pro, Angel took the time to make a mold out of like Play-Doh of a VHS tape, and then did a VHS tape sleeve with Shane's graphic, and then made wax VHS tapes. Or like Cream by 80 is a local clothing brand, and Rob did a board with us, so we did a lunchbox with him. It's like full like Cream, Revenge of the Dwellers, like this cool graphic on the lunchbox. It's like he's always doing these things just to make like an extra, which gets me psyched on the brand. It's like when the owner cares about what they're doing so much, it makes you motivated and like want to do more for them. OG Sub-Zero stickers. Sabotage would always make this fun, weird stuff. Like matches, plastic razors. John Devine's Pro 40 bags. Dead Air radio stickers. A million different Sabotage stickers. An Illuminati sticker. Fat Bill sticker. Original Zoo York tag stickers. I would always go to skate shops and like grab stickers from whenever I like go visit a shop. So there's so many like old East Coast shop stickers. Elite in Philly, an old Nocturnal sticker.